In Mark chapter 2, a paralyzed man had just been lowered through the roof of the house where Jesus had been preaching to a standing room only crowd, and seeing the faith displayed by that, Jesus said to him, "Son, your sins are forgiven." And that stirred quite the reaction. In Mark chapter 2 and verse 6, now some of the scribes were sitting there, questioning in their hearts, "Why does this man speak like that? He is blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" And immediately Jesus, perceiving in his spirit that they thus questioned within themselves, said to them, "Why do you question these things in your hearts? Which is easier, to say to the paralytic, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Rise, take up your bed and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins," he said to the paralytic, "I say to you, rise, pick up your bed, and go home." And he rose and immediately picked up his bed and went out before them all, so that they were all amazed and glorified God, saying, "We never saw anything like this." As we come to know Jesus through this account in Mark's gospel, recognize Jesus knows us. Do you see how perceptive he is as it's revealed to us in this account from his life? That as described, some of the leading religious authorities and teachers and experts are offended by Jesus, a man, saying that this person's sins were forgiven. Jesus knew what they were thinking. He perceived what was in their innermost heart. That's because Jesus wasn't just some man, some preacher, even some healer. Jesus is the Son of God. And that is on display when Jesus knows exactly what the people around him are thinking. That's who Jesus is. He knows what we think. He knows what's in our hearts. We are fully exposed before him. Yet, that's not the only evidence that Jesus is more than just a man, as we see it in this story. Because Jesus wants them to know that as he says that forgiveness, he's not blaspheming. He is not rebelling against, he's not disrespecting God in any way, shape, or form. He is exercising the authority that God, his Father, has given to him. And to demonstrate that, Jesus heals that paralyzed man. He knew that the sin in that man's life was the highest priority to address. But God also gave Jesus the ability to heal the consequences of sin. Because all of our sickness, all of our pain and suffering and death, it all ultimately comes back to sin. The way that humanity has cursed God's good creation with sin. So Jesus not only forgives his sins, but he undoes its painful consequences by healing this paralyzed man in a way that's obvious and apparent, in a way that there's no denying what's happened, because the man immediately gets up. The bed that before had been carrying him, he's now carrying out to go about living his life completely changed by what Jesus has done. And Jesus's ability to do that, to undo sin's effects, to heal that man's disease and disability, to take away his pain and make him able to go forward living a bold, exciting new life, that proved that Jesus wasn't just saying stuff, that Jesus wasn't blaspheming. God was working through Jesus in a special way, in a unique way. God had given Jesus to do things. Authority to exercise power in ways that no one else had. So as we come to know Jesus, as we recognize this authority he has, as we know he knows our hearts and He knows our thoughts. Will we accept that authority and let Him bring healing and change into our lives too?